Happy Easter! I read King Sorrow this month. And if you read King Sorrow, you know what day it is, so you better watch your back. I'm so excited to talk about this book. This is King Sorrow, written by Joe Hill, and it came out, I think, at the end of 2025. I read it this month in March, so my March was a short. I read a couple of small guys in between, but I dedicated my March to reading this, and I'm so happy I did. The timing was perfect. I probably will talk about spoilers, so I'll try to do that in the second half of the video, and I will alert you beforehand, because I'm still getting used to this whole book space, you know what I mean? But I really appreciate when people let me know that spoilers are coming, because I can either click away or say, awesome, I don't want to read that, and I'm gonna listen to you talk about the rest of it. I thought this was gonna be my break into dark academia, if you will, because we can read a little of the description here. Let's see. Actually, yeah, I'm gonna read a little bit of it. Arthur Oakes is a reader, a dreamer, and a student at Rackham College, Maine, renowned for its frosty winters, exceptional library, and beautiful buildings. Frosty winters. Oh no, I was gonna say winter's not very important. It's a little important. But his idle and burgeoning romance with Gwen Underfoot is shattered when a local drug dealer and her partner corner him into one of the worst crimes you can imagine, stealing rare books from the college library. And I don't want to say it's not dark academia, but the book part of it is, it's not centered around the college. We are following Arthur Oakes and Gwen Underfoot, and we're also following their group of friends, but we're doing it over, it's like 25 years. Every page in this book, I didn't know what was going to happen, and I don't remember the last time I read a book like that, and I'll be honest, at first it made me angry, because I was like, where the fuck is this going? Like, there's an excerpt I want to read for you later, but it's so funny because I feel like Joe Hill thought of everything, because at page, like, I remember I sent out, I could probably find it, I'm not going to, I sent out a Snapchat at page, like, fucking 200, and I was like, this book could, in theory, end here. But I know y'all are gonna make some bad decisions and make it not end right here. As any good horror writer, director, fucking any good horror person knows. They're like, we could just make this easy and, you know, you didn't have to go back in the house, but you're gonna go back in the house and you're gonna ruin this for everybody. And that's what happens. And later, we get called out on that, and it's beautiful. But anyway, so, long story short, we're following Arthur, Gwen, Colin, Donna, Donovan is his name. Donna and Donovan, the twins, Allie, and some other characters in between. But long story short, Arthur starts stealing rare books from his college library where he works. He gets duped into dealing with these crappy townies. As somebody who works in a creative field, I feel like often when people know that you're associated, whether it's your friend, your father, your mom, your partner, whatever it is, oftentimes people like to compare and contrast, and I try very hard not to do that with Joe Hill. Of course, some things stand out, their family. He did an interview with Last Podcast on the Left, and it was so perfect because for most of the episode, they don't say who his dad is, and they continue to go on about how he's this renowned tennis player. The New England stuff will always stand out to me in any book. I started reading Paul Tremblay this year. Anytime we get a New England mention, we're all up here with our Dunkin' Donuts cups, like, fuck yeah, let's go. So, alright, moving on. We're in Maine. These townie drug dealers are getting Arthur in a lot of trouble, and we find out that there is a very rare book that this library contains by a one Enoch Crane. And some supernatural fun ensues with this group of kids because his friends find out that he's in a pickle. He tries to keep it from his friends. His friends find out that he's in this trouble and they decide to help him out. Therefore, they are now involved in this scandal. This rare book that they steal has some properties. They are able to summon King Sorrow, the dragon. Believe it or not, I had this just lying around. As is tradition, with any dragon, with any demon, with these kind of, any genie, it doesn't even have to be malevolent. When you're dealing with other worlds. Be careful what you wish for. So I think that's all I'm gonna say as my go read this book. And I think now I want to talk about the book, so if you don't want spoilers, go away now, probably, because I am still getting used to giving you enough but not giving you too much. So if I lapse in anything, I don't want to spoil anything for anyone. Is everybody gone? We're here, just you, me, and King Sorrow. You're in it now. Now they're in it. King Sorrow isn't just going to help them and go away. At that 200-page mark where you're like, okay, this could be over, the way the rest of the book is structured is we get a dive into each character and their dealings with King Sorrow over the next 25 years. It is amazing what he's able to do. And I tend not to like read online reviews. I enjoy the book talk booktube space, but I'm not like a looking up reviews type person. But I did go to the reviews in this, and other people saw kind of what I saw, and I think it's wonderful. He has this ability to bring in a lot of themes by introducing each of these characters and each of the dilemmas, and there is so much going on. And again, for the first, after those 200 pages, for another few, I was like, I'm getting annoyed, there's a lot going on, but just when you're starting to feel like that, he's able to prove a point, wrap it up, and move on to the next event and the next themes. There are ongoing themes of friendship, conspiracy, some good anti-government stuff in here. And if you're feeling fearful in this world, this book feels like a perfect reflection of what I think so many people have been feeling over the last 5, 6, 10 years, and able to put it in a digestible way that is still an adventure, and to give us a little bit of hope. And when I was ranting about this book before I had finished it to my husband, he was like, how do you think it's going to end? And he was like, how did the other Joe Hill books end? And again, I've read every single Joe Hill book except The Fireman. I DNF'd that one, but I would like to pick it up again, especially after this. But I was like, this could go anyway. He's not gonna coddle us, and he doesn't. But there's a little bit of hope. And I see that a lot in Gwen, as I'm sure a lot of people do. Okay. I have to refilm the mail section, so I hope this doesn't sound crazy different than the other clips, but we didn't get the middle portion of King Sorrow, which I didn't want to go into too much detail into anyway, but I do want to hear about people's favorite of the group, and I do want to hear people's thoughts on like each interaction with King Sorrow, so I want to touch on them very quickly. So I think I left off about me loving Gwen. Our first person who deals with King Sorrow. They have to sacrifice a person every year around Easter. We're in the spoiler section, so we know this. And Gwen gets sprinkled throughout the sacrifices, but we really focus on Allie, Donna, and Van. Arthur and Colin kind of go together, and Gwen is like in her own storyline throughout as well. So Allie's was that point of me kind of wondering what was going on, because that plane scene was insane. And Allie's good heart but insecurity, she did a great job in this scene, and I feel like she's a wreck for the rest of the book after that. And her turnaround at the end is so spectacular. So we also get introduced to our character Robin, who is amazing. She's an icon, and she helps us out towards the end here on the plane, because she's like, hey, something weird is going on. There is something outside of this window, and the pilot is trying to prevent people from seeing this extraordinary thing that's going on, which is a dragon flying outside of the airplane. Allie knows this, but the people don't know this. And this sets off a chain of events of conspiracy, because Van is also on the plane, and he ends up writing a book later in life about what really happened, but it gets classified under conspiracy theory, and there's a whole sect of the internet space that believes him, just as we do with a lot of other conspiracy theories. So King Sorrow just becomes one of these conspiracy theories, but does manifest as this real thing is also a symbol for the greater suffering of humankind. And I mean, that sounds so much less interesting than like the book. This is why he's the author. But that sets off a kidnapping of Van and his sister Donna. And then all of these tragedies. Arthur is away in England studying how to slay a dragon. How do we find a dragon? So he's diving into the rich histories of lore, of dragon lore, of fantasy, of our Sword in the Stone side plot. Because if you don't pick it up in the beginning, we have Arthur, we have Gwen, and we have to kill this dragon. So he devotes his life to studying this. So he's kind of off. We get so much of him in the beginning and he's kind of gone. And then we have our lovely, wealthy host at the Briars, Colin, who is keeping track. And he seems to kind of enjoy this. And we're starting to get the hint that he kind of is running it because he creates the list. He's almost excited about. He's like, well, we're doing the world a service. We're taking out the bad guys. And again, these themes that come up. This one being how much. It's the railroad dilemma, kind of, but not really. But it's how much evil is worth its weight in good, I guess, is the only way I can put it. Do we kill one bad person to save 100? Do we kill one person to save 3 people? I don't want to even say bad because who becomes the judge of who's good and who's bad? And Colin seems to revel in that. And being a wealthy, privileged, white male character, he's the perfect symbol for that. But, so you're not really worried about him for most of the book, because who's he trying to kill? Osama bin Laden, Saddam Hussein, like, he wants to take out these people. So we get him a little sprinkle too, and then he gets a bigger chapter towards the end of everything, towards the, when they're older, when they're a little bit older. But Allie, Donna, and Van all kind of, you get their big experiences younger and see how they affect them later in life. Colin is this kind of steady stream of growth and wealth and how he fits into the world. Arthur is off studying in the library, trying to stay back from a lot of this stuff, staying out of technology, which Colin is keeping up with at a rapid rate. He is keeping up with it and he is making sure his friends are connected, and that is very important later on. And I had suspicions, but honestly, you know, you don't know what I didn't know. I mean, maybe you guys did. I'd love to hear more. Whose character arcs did you really like? Allie, to me in the beginning, was so sad, and she just broke my heart. And like, some of her decisions seemed pathetic. And I know, like, that's a heavy word, but my goodness, watching her get hurt over and over again was. My gosh, King Sorrow could have fed on her grief alone and internal struggle, but it does make her payoff so beautiful. And I'll talk more. Donna will come up later, but Donna is horrendous in her own way, but like she's true to herself, and you can't say that. And again, reflected in personalities that we do see now in today's age. And I know, I mean, I went to college in New Orleans and Florida, so I met my handful of Vans who were just living life and hoping for peace and love, and I feel that. I really feel that, Van. He's a mess, but like, man, do I feel that. And we see Gwen do such good and work hard, and Arthur too, to bury himself in his books, and Joe Hill continues to cut you to let you know that they're not gonna have a happy ending. And I would love to hear what you loved. I loved that there were unlikable characters. I am so for unlikable characters, and I do think, as evil as Colin is, he was written so well, and I love Arthur and Gwen. And even though Allie made me feel like viscerally upset so many times, I really think the only person I felt quite neutral about was Van. I even think I enjoyed Tana's character more than Van, and I haven't even touched on like the Night Swanders or Mrs. or Miss Oakes, you know what I mean, Arthur's mother. And although those are side quests, equally as important to driving this story along, and every time I was reading Daphne's sections, like, oh, you get a little pit, like, uh-oh, it's like you're behind the curtain, you're like, guys, watch out, there's something behind you. So it just continued to propel the story forward, as well as, you know what, not gonna lie, we could have learned about what put Arthur's mom in prison a little bit earlier, because I was like, wait a minute, did we still not know? Like, I don't think we learned until page till the 600, 700s. I was like, we still don't know why Arthur's mom was in prison this whole time, but it does pay off. And I do think that's all I missed, so we'll cut back to me wearing a jacket and being a little less good at talking. Not that this is much better, but okay, back to the original video. And when I want to kind of get into the last legs of the book. It really is kind of divvied up into, the opening of it. We're getting to know everybody. Here's what's going on with everybody individually. I'm so happy we got a little bit of justice, but we did get a betrayal. Oh my god. Because, again, I was like, I'm gonna end up texting somebody. Like, we're gonna get a Judas moment. Like, I have a bad feeling. And I was dog sitting when it happened, when Arthur and Colin are in the cave. And same deal, I just go, no, I just scream, no. And ironically, I didn't see it coming until the moment before. But as we're entering this dark and scary atmosphere, again, it was so enjoyable. And our troll, Svangor, right, Svangor? So awful and gross that I was enjoying the journey too much, and I got distracted too, and it was devastating. And we do get a little bit of justice, and those are those moments of hope that I feel like we need, because yes, we're watching this journey of these kids, but they're living through all of these things that so many of us have lived through, and we're watching these awful people succeed. We're watching the dragons inherit the earth, I guess, is how I can wrap that up. We're watching these dragons inherit the earth, and we're just doing our best, and nobody's perfect, and we are all flawed, and we can only do what we can do, and we can only communicate with each other, which I think is what we see in the friend group, to help each other be a better version of themselves. Even Donna doesn't forfeit who she is, but she does, there's like that glimmer of hope that there might be a reluctant resistance, and that's enough to kind of help me hold on. But I think really that's the biggest thing that I took from this book. I was able to enjoy the adventure and reflect on where we are at the same time, and I think a good novel does that. In the beginning, I mentioned that, again, this could have been wrapped up in a couple hundred pages, right? And so, after we go through all of this, our actual troll becomes an online troll later in the book, and he makes a comment that I want to read to you. A Goodreads review of Toolkit for the Well-Prepared Dragon Slayer by Arthur Oakes, PhD, with Gwen Underfoot, posted on November 4th, 2019. And this is the Goodreads review by Svanger_bro. 1,219 reviews, 356 followers, no stars for this book. No stars for the Toolkit for the Well-Prepared Dragon Slayer. I was up for a good book about finding magical swords and stabbing dragons and rescuing hot babes in chainmail panties, but instead I got a lot of woke nonsense. A dragon is just a dragon is just a dragon, is what I say. It doesn't have to be a dumb metaphor for drone strikes or whatever. There is so much liberal guilt, G-I-L-T, in this book, it's as bad as watching Rachel Maddow, is what he says, who I hate even if she's obviously super hot. And it just goes on and on. Could have been hundreds of pages shorter. Who has time for this shit? I didn't. Quit before I got halfway. The only good thing here is the author photo of the girl writer. Yummy, like Velma and Scooby-Doo. Again, just these little, casting a reel back to the beginning, just these little things. Anyway, if you like me, enjoy Girls in Chainmail, follow the link in my bio for some totally unrated, nasty medieval sex. Ha ha ha, I promise it will be way more fun than this garbage. And although, and it's just like, it's just good. I can't even, I was like, you know what, damn it, Joe, I just can't. It's so good. This book was a good time. If you enjoyed it, I want to know what your thoughts are. And if you like Joe Hill's other books, tell me your favorite. If you haven't read any of his, I think that you should. Horns is probably my favorite again, I've read all of them except The Fireman, but Horns is probably my favorite, and I hate the movie. Unpopular opinion. Hate it. Love Daniel Radcliffe. Hate the movie. Book is so much better. Did like the Nosferatu series though, but I digress. This is not what that's about. And with that, I think you should read this book if you like reading fantasy or horror or thriller or about topical issues, or even conspiracy. I'd say that's a bigger part of this book. Or old school fantasy. We have a nice parallel tale of some old school stories in here. If you like any of that, I think you'll take something from this book. And I know it's a big boy, but it's good. It's good. I think I found the quote I'd like to end off with. Page 552-53. The world is full of wait, hold on, dramatic effect. Ahem. The world is full of dangerous people doing terrible things, including us. You want to reduce the sum total of suffering and slaughter in the world? We can start with our own dragon. When I'm filming this, it is Good Friday, 2026. I hope to post it today. If not, it will be up by Easter. So, happy Easter from King Sorrow.